Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your favorite girl Favor. So guys, today we are going to be learning how to cut and sew this Infinity Palazzo jumpsuit. You can see it can be styled in different ways. So if this is something you're interested in, let's head to the tutorial proper. So guys, for today's tutorial, this is the fabric we are going to be working with. Now, I honestly do not know where to classify this fabric to. I don't know if it's a duchette, if it's a crepe, if it's a chiffon, but I know it feels like a damask, some kind of. So I got this fabric from bale material. Okay, so before we head to the tutorial, now mind you, the fabric is 3 yards. We have it to be 3 yards. Okay, so we're going to do a quick calculation of how we are going to achieve our palazzo. So the hips we're working with is 40 divided by 4 will give us 10 inches. Okay, now this is the normal 10 inches. The way we divide into 4. Okay, now for us to achieve our palazzo, this 10 inches, we're not going to times it by 2. That is 10 times 2 will give us 20 inches. Now, the wideness of the palazzo we are working with today is going to be 20 inches. I hope you understand. All right. Now, this 20 inches depending on how full you want your palazzo to be. Okay. So I'll keep this aside. Then we'll get straight to folding of this fabric. Now, we are not going to be folding into 4. I am going to be folding into 2. Okay. I'll pick these 2 edges and then place it together like so. This is the English mouth. I'll place it straight like this. Now I'm placing it straight. You can see I am working with a pattern fabric today because of that pattern. So I'm going to be placing it like this, okay, just for me to achieve that line you're seeing on the fabric. Okay, so after arranging this properly, now we'll go ahead and mark out the wideness of the palazzo we are working with. So remember the calculation we did, we are going to be working with 20 inches. Now I place my tape from the beginning of the fabric and then I will go ahead and mark 20 inches. Now this is the wideness of the palazzo we are going to be working with today. All right, okay, so please, I would like you to pay attention because my cutting table is not wide enough, so we're going to be moving this fabric a whole lot, so please just pay attention. Now from this point I will come down by my hip point, which is 8 inches. I will mark. Now this is my 8 inches for my hip. I will go ahead and use my ruler to extend this fabric, extend the line to the end of the fabric, to the beginning of the fabric. Okay, now after getting our hip line, I will go ahead and get our crouch line. Now for us to get our crouch line, you divide your hip by 4. Now, after dividing the hip by 4, we're meant to be having 10 inches. But because this is a jumpsuit, I will add extra 3 inches to my 10 inches. Okay. Now, I will add extra 3, which will be left with 13 inches. Now, the crouch length we are going to be working with today is 13 inches. Okay. Now, after marking our crouch depth, I will go ahead and also extend the line to the full length to the other side of the fabric. Okay, I hope you're following. Still placing my tape on from the beginning of the fabric, I will go ahead and get the full length of the palazzo we are working with, and then the length of the palazzo we're working with today is 45 inches. I will chalk it down. Now if you notice, I did not minus any band inch before marking the full length. Okay, so take note of that. Then from this point here, I will come in by 1 inch. When I come in by 1 inch, I'll just give it a curve, just to give it a trouser curve. Okay, to the hip point and then to the crouch point. Now I will go to the full length of the palazzo. I will also come in by 1 inch and then I will extend the 1 inch all the way to the crouch point where the curve started from. I hope you understand. Just pay attention to what I'm doing and you will get it. So after connecting it, I will go ahead and cut this out now that I have gotten the full length of the palazzo we want to work with. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut it out now. All right, so after cutting it out, we'll go ahead to get our crouch curve. Now from here, this is what our full length is, 20 inches. Do not forget. Now from this 20 inches, I will extend the line to meet the crouch point. Okay, so guys, I would want to correct something. So at the point of making this video, I realized that I went ahead to mark my curve at the hip point instead of the crotch point. Okay, this 2-inch that I'm marking here is meant to be from the crotch point, not from this hip point. Please take note. I would want you to correct that when you are working on your own palazzo. Please take note of that. Okay, so from this 2-inch, I will go just connect it to this point here, and then I'll just give it a curve. So this curve is not meant to be at this hip point, it's meant to be at this second line, which is the crouch line. I hope you understand. So from this crouch line here, I will go ahead and also get the wideness of the palazzo. So I'll just mark the 20 inches from this point down to the full length. Okay, now you can see that I did not give any curve at this other side. I still maintained the 20 inches, which is the wideness of the palazzo. This is because it's going to be pleated or gathered palazzo. Okay, so after extending it like this, we'll take this back to the full length, and then we'll go ahead and cut this out. But before cutting it, I will pin it down to avoid the fabric moving away, because this table is really not enough for this wideness of the palazzo we're working with. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and cut through. So pay attention to where I'm cutting. Okay, so after cutting this out, to cut out the crouch length, and then I'll just maintain this line just to give it a straight cut, and then I'll go to this other point where we had our hip curve. I will also align the lines properly, and then I will just cut it out to the full length. So guys, after cutting it out, we'll go ahead now and cut the back pattern. Now I have arranged the back pattern the same way we arranged the front pattern. The only difference is that where we had that our hip curve, you can see I did not give any space at this point, but at this point here I gave a space of about 3 inches. Now depending on how wide you also want the back to be, okay, but 3 inches is advisable. So from here now, I also gave it a space of 2 inch. So I'll mark 2 inch at this point. Okay, now after marking 2 inch at this point, I will just give it a curve and bring it down to this point here, to this waistline. Okay, just pay attention to what I'm doing and you're good to go. So we'll come back to the crouch for the back. I will add extra 2 inch allowance to this crouch line, and then at this point I will come in by 1 inch. I'll also come in by 1 inch here, and I will come to this point, I will come in by 1 inch. Okay, so after coming in by 1 inch, I will just also give it a curve to meet the crouch at the back. I hope you understand. Now at this point I will mark a 2 inch. Okay, after marking this 2 inch like this, okay, I will go ahead and then from this point I will just reduce it by half an inch. I will mark 1.5 from here. I marked 1.5 here. Okay, I will also mark 1.5 and then extend it to the full length of the palazzo. Okay, all right, so do not forget, just pay attention and you're good to go. Now I'm going to be adding zipper allowance to this at the back. My zipper is going to be at the back, so I'll just place and get the full length of the zip. Now I'm going to use 6 inches. Remember, I did not minus for the band. Okay, so after marking the 6 inches, I'll just add 1 inch allowance, extra allowance here. So this is going to be 7 as our zipper. So after cutting it like this, we'll go ahead and cut all through. So please pay attention to how I'm cutting this. See where I cut? I only cut from where our zipper allowance is meant to be placed. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut this all through, and then we'll head to the proper joining of the pieces. Okay, so just pay attention. This is really very easy tutorial for you to understand. I also cut out this other side, just the curve that we had at the front, just to maintain that same curve for the back at the front. Okay, so you can see that this other point I did not add any allowance. It's just where we had the crotch. So I'll go ahead and use half inch to stitch on the crouch at the back, and I'll also use half inch to stitch for the crouch, the front crouch. Okay, so I'll do the front and the back, stitch by half an inch, and then I will bring it back. So guys, I've gone ahead to join the front crouch and the back crouch together. Okay, so this is what the front looks like. I joined it by half an inch and then I ironed it open. You can see this is what the front looks like. Okay, so it's always important for you to iron. Now this is what the back crouch looks like. So we'll see later on open up this zipper allowance. Now guys, so for me, I'm not going to be pleating, I'm going to be doing a gather stitch, because gather stitch, I noticed that when I do a gather stitch is fuller than pleat stitch for me. So I did a 2-stitch loose stitch. Now this is how you pull for your gather stitch. It's a very loose stitch that you can pull, gradually pull to the length of your desired waist. Okay, so this is how we're going to pull it all through. Now I ran 2 lines because it's better to be on the safer side, so that in case if one cut, I'll still have one to work with. Okay, so guys, I'll also pull this other side. We pull to the point. Anywhere it's difficult for you to continue pulling, you would want to switch to the other side, which is what I did here. All right, so please pay attention to how I'm dragging it gradually. It's a gradual process. Okay, so guys, after doing my gather stitch, this is what it looks like. Okay, can you see? So after pulling this, now I will come here and then pull out by 1/2 inch. Make sure that at this beginning is smooth enough. Okay, you can see, can you see what I'm doing here? I make sure that this place is smooth. So from here I will place my tape to get my waistline divided by 2. My waist is 29 divided by 2 will give us 14.5, and that is exactly what I have here, 14.5. So after making sure that the gather stitch I have here is the same thing with the waistline I'm working with, I will go ahead and pull the gather stitch for the back pattern, and then I will bring it. Okay, so guys, I've gone ahead now to pull the gather stitch for both the front and the back. Can you see? This is what it looks like. So what we're going to do right now is to run a stitch on top of that to secure that gather stitch. Okay, so you want to run a stitch on top of it. So I'll go and run a stitch on both the front and the back to avoid the gather stitch losing later on. So guys, after securing the gather stitch, the next thing we're going to go ahead now to do is to cut out this excess thread that is coming out from the gather stitch that we pulled. Okay, because I've gone ahead to secure the thread. Please do not forget to always secure the thread. Now this is the back pattern. Remember that we have not separated the zipper allowance. We'll still separate that later. Can you see that the zipper allowance is still there? So we're meant to separate it. Please do not forget that part. Okay, all right, so guys, I'll go ahead now and keep this aside, so we'll work on the pockets for this palazzo. Okay, so this is the pocket. I have it to be 1, this is the second 2, and then this is 3, and then this is 4. Okay, so this is 4 pieces that you're seeing here. This is for the pockets, and then the length of the pockets is, we have it to be 12 inches, and then the wideness of the pocket, we have it to be 9.5 inches. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is to just go ahead from this point. I'll just give it a little curve. All right, so I'll just go ahead and give it a curve. Can you see where I started my curving from? Okay, so this is totally optional. You can leave yours straight, but I love to have the curve like this. Now, in case if you're wondering how the length of where your curve is supposed to be, this one happens to be 3.5. Okay, so you can do the curve to be 2.5. You can do it depending on how you want. So do whatever you want to do with your pocket. So after curving it, I'll go ahead and cut this out. Now, after cutting this out, we'll go ahead and bring back our palazzo pants, and then I'll place the right side facing right side like so. Okay, can you see what I'm doing here? I will come in here. Remember that I did not start, I gave 1 inch allowance before I started my gather stitch. Now from this point, I will go ahead and come down by 2 inch. Can you see what I'm doing here? So from this 2 inch that I came down, I will also come down by 6 inches. For 7 inches. This is going to be the opening of our pocket. So after getting this, now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and give it a notch to know where we are placing our pocket from. So I'll give this a notch here, and I will as well give a notch to this other part. Okay, so we'll bring our pocket pieces. Okay, so pay attention to how I'm going to be placing this pocket. Now I'll place the front side facing front, and then I'll place it directly under the main fabric like this. Okay, now I will use my pin to secure. Remember, if you've been following my YouTube tutorial, that wherever you see me pin, it means that we're supposed to sew on that. So you stitch on that part first, and then you place the second one. Can you see the way I'm placing it? So please pay attention to how I'm placing it. So you're meant to stitch on knit first. Okay, so when you place this, you stitch on knit. Do not forget to first of all stitch on knit. Now when you stitch, you close by 2 inch by 1 inch, and then you use half an inch to close the pocket to this point here where we gave the notch, and then you use 1 inch to close up. So guys, I've gone ahead now to attach our pocket. So this is what the pocket looks like. Can you see? So this is the easiest way to attach your pocket, and I also went ahead to use 1 inch to close up the pants. Now the next thing, I'm going to flip this over. Now we're going to pick the front side of the front crouch and the back crouch and place it like this. Okay, so pay attention to what I'm doing. Now you want to make sure that you open up these seams here, open it up like this, and then run a stitch. Use half an inch or 1 inch, but it's recommended you use half an inch to run a stitch from that crouch, from this crouch here down to the full length of the palazzo, and then I'll do this for the other side and bring it back. So guys, I've gone ahead now to secure the crouch, and this is what it looks like. Now I have my front and the back together, all stitched together. So I'll go ahead and flip this over the right side of the fabric. Okay, so guys, after turning this over, this is what it looks like. Can you see how full it is? Because I used the gather stitch method, and then this is the front, this is the first pocket, and then this is the second pocket. So we're going to keep this aside now and work on the upper part. Okay, so guys, this is what we're going to be using for the upper part. You can see mine has joining. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now to get the measurements of this to know the length we are working with for the infinity design we're trying to achieve. So this is the first yard, this is a yard here. Okay, and then this is the second yard, so this is 2 yards. We have 2 yards here. Now in total we have 2 yards and 25 inches. So you can do more or you can do less. Okay, now for you to achieve the wideness of the infinity for the upper part, you divide your waist circumference by 4. Okay, now you divide it by 4. Hope you understand. So for me, mine is 8 inches. Mine is 8 inches, but because I want it to have a little gather effect, I went ahead to add extra seaming allowance to it. Okay, so by the time I do a gather effect, I will have some excesses. So in total I cut 14 inches. So I will do gather effect for this, and then I will bring it back. So guys, I've gone ahead to do the same gather effect we did for the palazzo pants. Okay, now after pulling my gather stitch, okay, I have it now to be the 8 inches, which is my waist circumference divided by 4. That is how you get the design for the upper part. Okay, now this is the trouser. You can see that I've gone ahead to open up the zipper allowance. That is the zipper allowance we are putting at the back. So we'll place it together for us to get the midpoint of this palazzo. Okay, so after placing it properly, I will go ahead and give a notch at the middle of this palazzo, so that it's going to be serving as a guide for us. Okay, so after giving it a notch, I also went ahead to cut pieces for the band. Now this is the band, and we have the wideness to be 3 inches. I also went ahead to go an interfacing for it to just be strong a little. Now for this other part, you can see that I folded it in by half an inch. So this is what we are going to be giving it a clean stitch after. Okay, so don't worry, you will see what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and pick up this one that does not have a fold, all right, and then bring our pants, our palazzo pants, starting from our zipper allowance here. So please pay attention here. You pay attention. If you pay attention here, you're going to understand what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is the right side facing right side of the palazzo pants, and the band, the right side facing right side. So go ahead and run a stitch on top of it. Now you want to make sure you are running a stitch in a way that your line will not show. The threading you did for your gather stitch will not show, in case if you are doing a gather stitch. So I'll take this and then I will run it and bring it back. So guys, I've gone ahead now to secure the band on the main palazzo stitch. Can you see? Let me flip this over. So this is what I meant when I say you want to run your stitch on top of that your gather stitch to avoid your threading showing. So this is what it looks like. Can you see, guys? So we'll go ahead now and also still give this a notch the same way we join it together. So I held the 2 zipper parts just to get the midpoint of this palazzo. Okay, now I'll go ahead and pick up the upper part of the palazzo. Okay, please just pay attention to this point so that you wouldn't have to do this again or do it twice. So I will go ahead and take the upper part, and then where I have my gather stitch, I will place it starting from the notch I gave at the middle of the band. Can you see what I'm doing here? Now I extended it to the other side of the notch. Can you see what I'm doing here? So that it will not be exposing my cleavage when I give an infinity design. So I will go ahead and use my pin. Can you see how I place this? I placed it to the good side facing good side. Okay, please just pay attention at this point. You understand what I'm doing. Okay, so I will go ahead and use my pin to secure the upper parts on top of the band, okay, before running a stitch. So after securing the pin like this, so this is what we are expected to see. Can you see what I just did here? So this is what it looks like. So I will go ahead and run a stitch on top of it like this. I will run a stitch. You want to run a stitch in a way that your gather stitch still will not show. Please always take note of that in case if you're doing yours to be gather stitch. So I will also do the same thing for this other one. Now when I'm placing this other one, I will also place it on top of, by half an inch. I will use half an inch to place it on top of this other side, like I said, to avoid exposing my cleavage when I'm trying to create an infinity design. So I will take this to the sewing machine, secure it, and then I'll bring it back. So guys, after sewing it, this is what it looks like. Can you see what it looks like? It's already turning out to be very beautiful. So can you see what the inner part looks like? Okay, now what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and arrange this properly like so. Okay, like I said before, please pay attention to what I'm doing here, and then you are good to go. So I'll now go ahead and pick up this band where we have where I folded in by half an inch, and then place it on top of, starting from this first band. Can you see where I placed it first? I will go ahead and place it there, run a stitch on top of it first, then use it to close this down part. I hope you understand what I just explained here. Okay, I will pick the two band, place it together like this. First of all, run a stitch on top of it, then use it to close up this other part. I will go ahead and do it and bring it back. So guys, I've gone ahead now to attach the band, and I use it to close it. So this is what it looks like. I also went ahead to attach my zipper. Now this is what the inner part of this looks like. You can see how clean it looks like. Can you see? This is what the inner part, and then this is what the front part looks like. Okay, so this is what I was saying, that you want to make sure you are stitching in a way that your threading will not be exposed at the front. So this is what it looks like. This is really simple to achieve, very easy to understand tutorial, and very easy to go. Okay, so guys, this is all for the cutting of this Infinity Palazzo jumpsuit. Okay, please guys, thank you so much for watching. Please guys, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Please leave a comment, ask questions where you do not understand, and I'll be on the comment section to attend to every question you're asking. And also, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And most importantly, do not forget to go green, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, do not forget to like, share, comment, so that this video can go viral to someone who might find it very important. Thank you so much for watching. See you on my next tutorial.